Activated, your window into how we can change the way in which we aspire for persons with disabilities, how we change our expectations from seeing inability to expecting ability. Activated takes us on a journey of taking lessons from persons with disabilities in how we must do things differently to unleash the contributions persons with disabilities can and must make to building a disability-inclusive Mzansi. Hello and welcome to Activated with me, your host, Taryn Tomlinson. People with disabilities make up an estimated 1 billion or 15% of the world's population. About 80% are of working age. The right of people with disabilities to decent work, however, is frequently denied. People with disabilities, particularly women with disabilities, face enormous barriers to equal opportunities in the work world. Compared to non-disabled persons, we experience higher rates of unemployment and economic inactivity and are at greater risk of insufficient social protection, which is key to reducing extreme poverty. It's time to change this and to look at how we can build inclusive economies. Let's get activated. In today's program, we visit one of the supported employment enterprises, the SEE of the Department of Labour in Pretoria. We travelled to Durban to meet up with Liza Aziz, who was instrumental in launching the Action in Autism Skills Transference Centre and Business Hub. I spoke to Ms. Undere, a person living with a physical disability with over 10 years' experience working with persons living with disability on a local and international levels. We meet up with Ayabonga Buhlungu in Khayelitsha, who comes from a long line of traditional clothing makers. All means all. It also means all persons with disabilities, regardless of the severity or types of disability, have a contribution to make. Whilst the International Labour Organization and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability advocate for support measures to be available, very little provision is currently made for assisted employment and entrepreneurship programs in the open labour market. We visit one of the supported employment enterprises of the Department of Labour in Pretoria and look at how these enterprises enable economic participation for persons with disabilities. The Supported Employment Enterprises was established in 1943 as the Sheltered Employment Factories for the sole purpose of creating employment for ex-servicemen and women who could not secure employment in the labour market due to their disabilities. SEE currently has 13 factories across South Africa, operating in 7 of the 9 provinces.
The supported employment enterprise factories produce a range of products from wood, office furniture. We produce private furniture for consumption like headboards, beds. There are textile products that we produce mainly for the hospitals, for the tourism industry, and that is the largest section that we have in the garments. There are career paths that employees, especially in the factory, can follow. We have engaged or entered into an agreement with the Mersita to further develop our employees within the metal sector, and depending on their medical condition and as they heal, those employees could also become supervisors. They can also move up the ladder, or they can also leave the factory to be integrated in the mainstream, or they can start their own businesses.
At SEE, it helped me a lot, to work amongst my colleagues. I never used to know much about textile. But up to today, I'm very happy in my job.
Ngisebenzile la SEE lo minyaka leyo until apha ngaza ngiqale general worker, then mangisuka lapha ngapromotwa ngaba supervisor, and kwahamba iminyaka kwathi 2013 ngapromotwa ngaba instructor e cutting room.
I grew up in Woodstock, around the corner from the Cape Town Society for the Blind. As a community, we all knew that we could purchase baskets and other items made by the blind and that it meant economic support for them. The society was founded in 1929 by a group of women from Cape Town who identified the need to provide training and employment opportunities for the blind. The 20s was such an era of women's liberation and the organization is still going strong. Na die advertentiebreek in ons profiel van die week, praat ons met Liza Aziz, 'n moeder van 'n autistiese kind. Welcome back. Ms. Undere currently serves as a presidential working group member and the ministerial committee for the Department of Social Development. In recognition of a commitment to the rights of persons living with disabilities, she was elected to develop the South African Country Report for the International Labour Organization Global. Hello, Undere, and welcome to our show. I'm so glad that you have come to join us today. Undere, you are from the organization DWDE. Can you explain to us what that means?
So, Disability Workshop Development Enterprise, or as you've mentioned, DWDE, is one of the leading disability employment service providers in South Africa. We started about 2007, and our main objective is that we train persons with all types of disabilities and that we place them into the open labour market, either in permanent positions or in contract positions. And then the second aspect is that we also serve as an umbrella body for protective workshops in the Western Cape province. Now, protective workshops are community-based organisations where people with more severe disabilities either receive care or, where possible, they are also trained and prepared for open labour market employment.
What is the biggest challenge in getting persons with disabilities into the workforce?
Vocational skills is a very strong correlator to employment. Remember, a job arises because somebody has to do a certain activity, and for that activity you generally need a skill. Now, when learnerships were conceptualized, they were seen as the ideal solution to give people with low levels of education, skills development for that population, and giving people working experience. Generally, when employers employ, they look at skills and they look at whether you are job ready, in other words, your productivity level. So for people that are unemployed, those two characteristics are absent.
For those who are at home and would really love to know how to become employable, where can they contact you with the DWDE?
We have a website, www.dwde.co.za, and then one of our job coaches would respond. But more than candidates contacting us, we need businesses to contact us. I think what COVID-19 has shown us really is that we are truly one world. We have to look beyond the traditional methods of how we do business, how we structure our working environments. So the working from home model is the perfect answer for persons with disabilities.
It's been a dream for me, I can tell you, to work from home. I generally work from home, but a lot of things and functions that needs to be done with, no one is expecting you now to go, to go out. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you, Undere. Thank you so much for your time and for coming along. Well, there you have it. If you are a business and you would like to help us increase those numbers of persons with disabilities within the workforce, you can get hold of the DWDE. Liza Aziz, a mother of an autistic son who uses augmentative and alternative communication, was instrumental in launching the Action in Autism Skills Transference Centre and Business Hub in Durban in 2019. The hub aims to kickstart and accelerate autistic persons' entry into the formal economy, a first for autistic adults in South Africa. Action in Autism is a non-profit organization created by parents of children with autism to improve the quality of life for people with autism spectrum disorder and their caregivers. Autistic people can self-actualize and participate economically if provided the relevant and timeous support and enabling environments.
You know, when you start out on this journey, you are fretful, you don't know what you are dealing with, and you are afraid for your child because you suddenly realize there's no resources, there's no support systems in place, and nobody to give you a roadmap on how to navigate this. So it's a learning as you're going, and it's a learning about autism as you're going. So my son is now 21 years old, and back then when he was diagnosed, there was absolutely nothing. And if you had to Google the symptoms for autism, it would be mind-boggling. It's from a medical view, it's very depressing, and it paints a very, very bleak picture. Like many other mothers, I struggled, and then I became proactive, and I wanted to do something about it because there was no resource. If we look at stats right now, we project that about 110,000 people just in KZN have autism, and there was no places for them to go, and many of them were confined to home. When my child was called uneducable, I was an educator, had trained as an educator many years back, I was incensed. I wouldn't have even called an animal uneducable, let alone a child, a human being with autism. We basically frog marched the MEC at the time in a Cronje to a meeting. Over 200 parents attended, and they stood up and told their sob stories that there were no facilities available for our children, that our Constitution provides for the right to education, basic education for every single child in this country, and why weren't our children accommodated? And from that starting moment, there was a small collaborative of us who then set up Action in Autism with me spearheading it, and we went from strength to strength. The most pronounced difference that I see in my son, who for the very first time was benefiting from Action in Autism, is that he has a sense of belonging, that he's part of a community outside of home and his mom, because he had been confined to home for a long time, that he has a sense of purpose and that he can contribute to community. And I see that with a lot of these young people that come to the center, is that suddenly their lives are transformed, as well as their families' lives as well. Because a lot of the time your life is swept away by supporting your person with autism and or disability. I think it is a very sad indictment against us as a society that we have less than 1% of the South African population persons with disabilities that are actually employed. And I think that those with neurodiversity, like autism, are the most marginalized and the most vulnerable. And all it means is changing attitudes. It's about saying, this person can contribute, and understanding that neurodiversity can bring a lot of strength. We all need different ways of thinking in this world. And so we want to see more and more people with neurodiversity that are employed.
My experience working at Action Autism, it's been profoundly positive and has had an extremely powerful impact on my life, bringing resolution, meaning to not just my life experiences, my challenges and struggles, but finally as an adult, I get to contribute to awareness, understanding, accommodation, support of the next generation, effectively human progress.
At Action in Autism, we believe in autistic people. We believe that they have a different neurology that can contribute fantastically to the world, to humanity, and to society. And we wanted to create a beautiful space.
Mense met outisme het 'n waardevolle bydrae tot ons ekonomie. En net soos enige iemand anders, het hulle net hulp nodig. Dankie Liza dat jy seker maak dit gebeur. Maar nou eens tyd vir 'n kort advertensiebreek. Ons is nou weer terug. Welcome back. The pad perch was created by Jenny Webster's need for a portable desktop magnifier, and it is designed for people who make use of the camera on their tablets as screen readers and text-to-voice functionalities for people with print disabilities. Let's find out more.
I'm Jenny Webster, and I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease when I was about 10, and I started losing my central vision then. So reading text and small things has been difficult all my life. So I decided when I was about 45, I went and retrained. So I went to Cape Town Society for the Blind for computer training. But all of us, when we came away, none of us were employed and didn't have money for to buy computers to put into practice what we had learned. So from there, I thought, well, how can I use my cell phone now to access text and to become computer literate? And then I realized I need to use this hands-free. I need it closer to my face because I can't be bending over all the time. And so I decided to create a device stand for myself. And then I thought, well, perhaps somebody else would like this. So I went through the painful process of developing a product that allows people with visual impairment to use the smart devices hands-free to access text and to use the camera-based apps. So you kind of aim it over the...
CAI.
This is a free app in iOS.
CAI. How aeroplanes work. 188 bullet traveling in space. P. 192 bullet.
The same app can be used for products.
Cream of tartary is the common name for potassium hydrogeotartrate.
As a visually impaired person, I like it hands-free and I like it closer to my face. I've got a book underneath here. There's quite large writing, but I still can't read it. So what I've done is that the pad perch can go to different heights. So at the lowest height, you can fit a pen underneath it for filling in forms. The medium height can get in an A4 page, and the highest height can get in an A3 page. And you can use one finger to move the words around on the screen, and it's nice and close to your face. It says over here, but you see, Maisie looks as though she is.
I love it when technology is designed as solutions for life's everyday challenges, especially when they are designed by women. Girls in tech simply must shine. En nou reis ons na Khayelitsha hier in Kaapstad om 'n jong man te ontmoet wat 'n baie spesiale plek in my hart het. Ek het Ayabonga 'n paar jaar terug ontmoet by die Mitchells Plain School of Skills. Laat ek julle voorstel aan Ayabonga. Ayabonga comes from a long line of traditional clothing makers. Both his mother and grandmother make traditional clothing and have passed on the passion and skill to Ayabonga. He has been sewing for years, making his clothing and clothing for others. This also led to his other passion of teaching youth in the township how to sew.
My name is Ayabonga Buhlungu. I live in Khayelitsha. So I learned from my mother how to sew. Then I went to Mitchells Plain School of Skills for the basics. Then I just kind of went on with it. I wasn't so sure at first because some people would say mean stuff. You couldn't make a jacket out of plastic, but I kind of did to prove them wrong. So people started liking my things. It kind of started there. Fashion designing means to me, it's almost like having an option to dress up the way you want to without people making fun of you. My inspiration comes from Popeye. When you are watching cartoons, you can find a shoe maybe that you liked. Then I can maybe take that thing and reflect it as a clothing, make it into a reality. Ungena i-custom, so ngena kwa i-customer iyafika yandibuza ubana like ndingenza kanjani xa kukho ibhlukhwe mhlambi efuna ulungiswa like ucutha, but exesheni ke ngokuba uyawuthanda owam umsebenzi, then ke ngoku ndingakwazi umchazela ubana like ndiyathatha ii-classes ndingamfundisa umntu xa sefuna ufundiswa.
He is so special because it's different to other kids. The thing is, when you want to do something, you just do it.
izinto ezenza iimpahla zam zibe different. Andisathandi ubuyela emva kakhulu, engase abe khona umehluko kocaca uba nixesha litshintshile. Ndiyaunderstand izinto zintle ezinye xa sezenziwa ngehlobo lakudala, but okay, ndifuna nje uzisa i-21st century a little bit forward.
Ons wens Ayabonga alle sterkte toe vir sy toekoms en hoop die jeug in sy gemeenskap meer by hom sal leer. En so het ons aan die einde gekom van nog 'n episode van Activated. Ek hoop dat julle dit baie geniet het. We close today's show with Siyanda Makanya, famously known as DJ Kabila, a South African DJ based in Durban with his roots from the dusty township of Mthatha. DJ Kabila is not only a musical genius behind the decks, but was also a phenomenal dancer prior to his car accident in 1999. This is evident in the manner he still dances in his wheelchair. Till next week, same time, same place. Here's DJ Kabila.
When I wink on ya.